Hi, everybody. This is day 1900 since Richard was forcibly removed from his barracks room there on Fort Bliss, and he was taken to a soundproof room where his life was taken from him. And then his body, this was on Fort Bliss, then his body was stolen and dismembered and trafficked, um, wholly or partially, but it ended up in Juárez across the border. So this is a international case. That's why we had Interpol. And I'm so sorry I'm coming on so late. It's almost 2 a.m. in the morning. We don't have time to sleep. This is too important. This is too important. And if you're not voting, and I know this upcoming election, eh, you must vote. You must vote. And you cannot vote for a Democrat right now. You just cannot vote for a Democrat. I mean, I know this whole thing with Tony Gonzalez is a shakeup for in the El Paso area, but you have to remember he's a turncoat. He called out the Hunt family, um, taking advantage of the soldiers, and he got bought out. He got bought out. He's a turncoat, and he's a turncoat on his own family, and he's a turncoat on the victim's family. If you don't know what I mean, it's one of his staffers from Uvalde that was set on fire, and they haven't released the 911 uh, call. And so until they start releasing evidence in the call, I will say that she was set on fire, and she is no longer here. And her child, 9-year-old child, does not have a mother now, and her husband does not have a wife. And I know there's uh, um, the right now all of the investigation to confirm that they were having an affair. But a person doesn't have to die for that. Uh, this is something more. This is something more. And Uvalde, raises red flags, especially when she had access to so much information as one of Tony Gonzalez's staff members. You get access to a lot when you're a staff member to a representative. So, I don't know. I don't know. Um, and they're not releasing, they're not being transparent, and they should be. They absolutely should be. So I want to apologize for coming on so late. I try to come on at 10 o'clock, but it just doesn't happen because I think people start coming home and they want to. Maybe I should go on in the morning or something, uh, or in the afternoon. But they absolutely start reaching out, and we have a lot of information today for this live stream. So I had to come on. Um, like I do every day. I have to make one, even if it's at 2 o'clock in the morning, I have to make one to let everyone know what's going on because our media is not doing their job. They're not doing their job. We're the ones that told the people in El Paso, and this is important for all of the United States, that the El Paso Criminal Law Magistrate Court is you know seated with imposters, that they're not following the Constitution, that judges on that court must be elected, that the voters are being disenfranchised for a decade now. Since 2015, those judge seats need to be elected, and they're not. They're not. So this is so how do you have oversight? How can you vote them out if you are being denied your vote, your say so, your voice? Your voice is being taken away by Veronica Escobar, by Samaniego, by the politicians there in El Paso. And this has botched all the cases. And then, of course, we're the ones that have told you about Mario Raskin Ortiz. He is illegally in the country. Yes, he is immigration fraud, immigration fraud. And he has been given by Veronica Escobar when she was a county judge. She brought him there, okay? She brought him there. She's the one that brought him there, appointed him, and signed his checks. And he has since then, of course, Samaniego has retained him and signed his checks, and he's illegal and unqualified to be the chief medical examiner. $500,000 a year, taxpayer money, uh, almost $5 million that he has gotten as a illegal as an illegal person in this country. He absolutely needs to pay that back. And he has botched, it's very important when you're trafficking, when you're doing a funeral home fraud business scam like what's going on in El Paso. It makes you wonder, well, you don't have to wonder. He's part of it. He has to be part of it. He is connected to the cartel. We have confirmed that. And of course, if you think about it, Veronica Escobar brought him there and retained him, and so has Judge Ricardo Samaniego. And so they're part of this funeral home trafficking, uh, flesh peddling, and fraud when it comes to all the insurance money and everything, along with Delia Briones, because Delia Briones is the county clerk. She's the stamp. She is does the legalized paperwork, right, for all of this. So this is a huge crime. And we're the ones that brought that. We're the ones that told everybody that Bill Hicks was a usurper, that he didn't install properly, and he's just has so many problems. He's just like, why would anybody choose him? Because he's the bottom of the barrel when it comes to lawyers. He has so many problems, y'all. And of course, he appointed a cartel. He appointed Luis Rene Diaz as his chief of staff there in the DA's office. He allowed the cartel to infiltrate the prosecutor's office there in El Paso. We're the ones that brought you that news. We're the ones that brought you the news of the 2028 stamp. That's Delia Briones again. What? She lost her mind on that day that she's tampering with Montoya's statement of officer. So he is also not legally processed, not didn't install properly as the prosecutor for El Paso, and so he's also botched the cases. So you have the medical examiner botching cases, the judges on the MAG court botching cases, the prosecutors botching cases. Then, of course, we brought to you Manny Chavira, who is also tied to cartel, and he is also a fraud. He's also got appointed as the chief of police for the El Paso ISD, which, remember, those have the schools with the tunnels right on the border that are trafficking children. We know that now. And he's the chief of police without a peacekeeper's license, and really upset a lot of police. But of course, if you want to traffic children, like just put them through on buses, and no one's the wiser because they're passing by a street, right? I mean, a school. They're passing by a school, and they see children. They see children getting on buses, and no one's the wiser that there's trafficking going on. And of course, we brought you the news that it was his family with Bob Moore's family that targeted Richard before Richard um, was forcibly removed and taken. They targeted him in 2019 to set him up, to get him into trouble, and he didn't, Um, they just could not compromise him, and so they tried to do it anyway, and it failed, um, but it still was a terrible thing. Um, and of course, they sent in their counterintelligence with Al Mayo's lawyer, Ray Velarde, to extract whatever Richard was reporting, because Richard was reporting in 2019. He was absolutely, there was audits going on Fort Bliss. There was, a lot of scrutiny trying to secure that border during 2019 and 2020. And so the whole Walmart mass shooting was retaliatory, orchestrated, bloody crime. But it targeted President Trump, okay, because President Trump is the chief law enforcement officer of the country. That's why there were audits going on. That's why Richard was in communication with DC, with his reports, his whistleblower reports. That's why there was, this big move to secure the border because of the criminal trafficking going on. And the Walmart mass shooting was a retaliatory, orchestrated, bloody crime that was used to form a false narrative to use against President Trump to attack the to disenfranchise the voter again, to feed the voters false information with this terrible crime, to shock them into going along with the false narrative because they were being hypnotized with this huge crime, right? Um, and they didn't know that Patrick Crucius was family there in El Paso, that his family was the manager of the federal courthouse in El Paso, that his family was working Walmart cybersecurity, that his family was in the DA's office under Jaime Esparza, that access to all kinds of file and evidence and everything, that his family was in the FBI office under Connell Wetton, having access to all kinds of stuff, and Connell Wetton is up to no good. The people didn't know that. The people didn't know that Patrick Crucius failed kindergarten, that he was bashing his head on the cement sidewalk, that he was severely mentally, had severe mental health conditions and autistic, that you know um, that he was blind. I mean, look at the video I posted up. He's blind. There's no way that he surrendered twice on the day of the Walmart mass shooting. There was no possible time at all for him to do what they said that he did. And of course, the videos does not show the chaos of 46 people being injured, and 23 of them being killed. It doesn't show the victims up there at the self checkout. It doesn't show what the narrative over and over again has been telling us. This was a big orchestration, and of course, there's so much infiltration with the cartel that it's absolutely possible that there's infiltration in the court, absolutely possible infiltration in the medical examiner's office, absolutely possible infiltration in the DA's office, yes, and possible, and infiltration in the whole funeral business, yes, and possible, and even in the police. So this is not something that would be impossible. This is all possible, and we have put forth the hard evidence to show you that. And now it gets even worse because we have over 400 bodies at the Plenitude Crematorium. They're reporting 387, 388, I think. But we, because of the additional bones that were found after the count. Our sources are telling us it's over 400 rotting bodies by this flesh peddler, Rafael Arellano Caron, who has a home that's right beside Beto O'Rourke, that his ex-wife, senior editor, I think senior editor, senior something at the City Magazine, Remember the ones that did the stealth interview with the Chan brothers for Fit Fam El Paso and wouldn't tell anyone who they were. And we told you that they're the Chan brothers. And we exposed the whole Fit Fam fraud, the whole Fit Fam fraud. And oh my gosh, yeah. And so we're the ones that are giving you the news. Um, the media is not. So it's very important for me to come on, even if I'm coming on at 2 a.m. in the morning, because someone has to say something, because nobody has to go through what a victim's family member just wrote today, that uh, they were given fake ashes at this Carmen, Del Carmen funeral home there, who has been arrested, okay, and Rafael Arellano Caron is hiding out in El Paso. Why isn't he extradited back to Juárez and being arrested? Because he had over 400 bodies, and of course Nancy, the owner of Ariaga, I think her name is, at the Del Cameron, oh, what is it called? Anyway, the funeral home there, that she had four. She had four. I mean, one is enough. One is enough. She absolutely has to be arrested. But this is what they stacked up the bodies in one, or were they working together? Yes, we have it confirmed that they were absolutely working together. We know that through El Pato. El Pato was arrested. We know that through our connections and intelligence. This is really all connected, and now you have the worst of the worst, the devil, the she devil, La Diabla, the she devil, who her family. This was a family business, okay? A family, not just a family, but this was absolutely a network that lured young women in that were pregnant and would C-section them. They would promise them jobs, you see, and they would C-section uh, these young mothers, and then end up killing the mother. And this is what we're hearing. This is how bad it is. Okay, she's not doing that. She's not doing the C-section. They are hiring young girls to do the C-section. They train them, and they, no formal training. Okay. They are, and I'm really sorry for having to tell you this, because it goes against our very spirit, doesn't it? Because it's sacrilegious. It's absolutely sacrilegious what they're doing with the flesh peddling, with these young girls, because the young girls don't survive their C-section. They're not meant to survive the C-section. They just want the baby. And then they take the organs out and they traffic the organs. Okay, so this is organ harvesting, baby harvesting, and organ harvesting, and it's brutal, y'all. And there has to be a place where they, because they're doing it for profit, they have to have a place where they can get rid of the evidence, right? They have to have a body dumping ground. And so the news, reading through all of this, the targeted market for these babies is American homosexual couples. So that's their target market. And that's furious. That's crossing over into El Paso. That means these babies are crossing over into El Paso. And so our intelligence is also saying that this network is connected to Beto O'Rourke. And we already know it's connected to Beto O'Rourke because Rafael Arellano Carran's and his wife, his ex-wife, home is right next door. I mean, hey, they could just, they're right next door. They're right there. So our information that we're getting is that this is all connected. Okay? This is all connected. So this is because these babies crossing over to the United States, since the target market is American homosexual couples, they have to go through the county clerk. Okay, they have to go through the county clerk. And then these bodies, if they're putting them as unidentified migrants to collect more money on them or get humanitarian aid, right? They have to go through the medical examiner. Because they want to cross-border collect. They want to collect on the Mexican side and they want to collect on the U.S. side. This is, this is the she-devil, isn't it? And it's so sacrilegious. This is why Christianity is so important, because it lays out how it is absolutely not tolerated to desecrate somebody's remains, somebody's body, that organs aren't for sale, that these babies to be stolen out of the womb of these mothers, and for the mothers to lose her life like this and to be just thrown into this flesh peddling business, the funeral homes that we know, Del Carmen and of course Purchase Funeral Home and other funeral homes that lead right to Fort Bliss contracts. And it leads to the governor's mother, the governor of Juárez, because she had oversight of these Plenitude Crematorium and Del Carmen, right? Funeral home. She had oversight. Why isn't she arrested, Maria Eugenia Galvan? Why isn't she? And it is, um, maybe Louis could tell us. Maybe Louis could tell us. I think he knows. And why isn't the governor being arrested? Because of her pan party being part of this. And why isn't Beto O'Rourke being arrested? And why isn't um, Veronica Escobar? She needs to be arrested. And you see that this is all connected to Richard, because we were targeted by these people for asking what happened to our son. We were targeted. Don't forget about Nadal Baim either. That, I was working on a post about him, and it's just been really crazy. I'll put it up tomorrow. But we cannot forget this network and how they targeted us. But the truth came out. They're running the most she-devil criminal trafficking operation, extorting taxpayer funds everywhere you look, with humanitarian aid, with VA death benefits, everything. Any way they can, pass bonds without voters' input. I would highly recommend that you do not vote for Samaniego. I would highly recommend that you do not vote for Veronica Escobar. I don't know if she's up for it. I know Samaniego is. Don't vote for them. It's really, look at, this is sacrilege, because we're made in the image of God. That's why Christianity is so important. We're made in the image of God. Everybody, even a criminal, okay? God requires even a criminal's body to be respected. You can't just hang somebody and let them hang there overnight. You have to take them down and bury them, because the body is made in the image of God. And to dishonor the body, even of a criminal, is to dishonor God. And the body holds the spirit. There's no peace for a spirit where the body is desecrated. That's why we want our son's remains. There's no peace. There's no rest. This is desecration. This is evil. That's what sacrilege is. Sacrilege is like the worst kind of evil, because you're perverse. Perverse, the word perverse comes from the meaning of outside the temple. When you're outside the temple. And this is very perverse. This whole situation is very perverse. And people that don't understand this, I just, then I just think, I just use the word insane. It's insanity to not understand how evil and how sacrilegious and how perverse this is, and that it cannot be tolerated. And even President Scheinbaum came when this lady was arrested. And this has everything to do with Richard's remains. And that's why we received the letters. And that's why today was just a brilliant day, because we have the Hegseth doctrine, where negotiations are done. There's no negotiations with this kind of evil anymore, because they're targeting young pregnant women. They're targeting children. They're targeting Americans. There is there's no tolerating this. And the Hegseth doctrine, from what I've read, is going to be very swift, and that they have the intelligence now. They know their targets. And, knowing the Walmart mass shooting case the way we do, we know it very well. We're the ones that put out about the Mayelas. We're the ones that put out about the autism. We are the ones that put out about the open checkbook, about the irregularities with the warrant, the arrest warrant. Remember, the arrest warrant didn't go out until the 9th of, that must be a tampering of the timestamp, the 9th of August, when the application for appointed counsel for millions of dollars of the open checkbook of taxpayers' money was at the 4th of August at 5:42 a.m. Before Patrick Crucius even had a arrest warrant, 5 days before Patrick Crucius even had an arrest warrant, they already had approved millions of dollars for appointed counsel, which was Joe Spencer. And Joe Spencer went and saw him, and he had talked to Judge Guadarrama and Judge Madrano about this, and they weren't even on the case yet. They weren't even assigned to the case yet. So, we exposed all that. That is, the the orchestration of all of this. And so we're telling you that there is absolutely um, motive. There's absolutely, Beto O'Rourke was absolutely involved with Veronica Escobar uh, to get the false narrative out there. Remember, Beto O'Rourke went and visited with Ernest Christopher Grant in the hospital. The big mouthpiece for the false narrative for the Walmart mass shooting. And Beto O'Rourke went and swooned over him and everything like that. And then he was found to be a liar, and now he's been arrested. He's been arrested. So President Trump's administration absolutely knows about what happened in the Walmart mass shooting case. They know that Beto O'Rourke participated in the false narrative, and come on, he's got intelligence, and he knows, and that his home is right beside Rafael Arellano Caron's home. Come on, of Plenitude Crematorium. And now this connection with the Diablo lady, with the she devil, that he has a connection to the she devil. Yeah, it's uh, it's all coming out. It's all coming out. So, and then of course Richard's remains, um, being at the Plenitude, being at Del Carmen. So, and so uh, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says we're at war with these FTOs. He says we're at war with these FTOs, and he has some intelligence um, for the most sophisticated targeting. And that even if you are a politician, if you're a narco politician, you better watch out. Anybody that is supporting, aiding, and abetting these FTOs is kind of criminal trafficking. Um, they're going to be targets too. That's what the Hegseth doctrine says. So just to let you know, these are not my words. These are Pete Hegseth with President Trump. And they're very serious. And it was Tulsi Gabbard that released the information today about the she-devil. And that case we have known about for a while, and I haven't had the oh gosh, that it's such a hard doing the research on that is so difficult because it's so evil. It's so evil. That's why I added the prayer up for the victim, um, for the victim's family member that was given fake ashes. Yeah. We are with them in the demanding for justice. In the demand for justice, we are with that family. We want justice too. We want our sons' remains just like they want their loved ones' remains. And we want the people responsible for this held accountable. And it looks like it's going pretty high up, with Veronica Escobar and Beto O'Rourke. Yeah, looks like it's going pretty high up. So thank you so much. I mean, there's just so much news going on that I want to address. I'll address that tomorrow. We're at 2:00 a.m. and I'll do I have a lot of information to share with you. And so remember that we are a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, that the government works for us. So please share all this information. And, we're putting it out as fast as we possibly can because also behind the scenes, we are identifying the crime, documenting the crime, and filing the crime. And those letters and all of that takes time too. So we are absolutely working behind the scene full force. And we sent off a lot of just jaw dropping uh, uh, files, and then we get responses, and it's. I just want to give everyone hope that there's a lot going on, and what President Trump and Secretary of War Hegseth said today, and this new Hegseth doctrine that is it's really, I hope you take time to read it. Um, it will absolutely put a skip in your walk because, uh, you know, these FTOs, they don't have a chance. They don't have a chance. So, and they have been extorting so much money that, yeah, I think this is really good news for everybody to stop this kind of she devil evil sacrilege that's going on. Thank you so much.